What's up, everybody? We got episode, 8 of Fowler and Friends? Yeah. Back by popular demand, and the fact that she felt like I didn't ask her enough questions will be my wife, Taylor Fowler.
Didn't do his job correctly.
She felt like she felt like at the very end when I said, "Is there anything else you want to talk about?" that I should have just asked more questions when I was just trying to wrap it up for bed. So I was done. But she wasn't. And so here we are, a day late, and I apologize for that. So something I know, and this is feedback I got from your mom,
Mom.
that I want to make sure we talk about a little bit more is just the motherhood journey. Because we did talk about it a little bit, but I know that there's a lot that being a mom has changed in you, all more or less for the better. But I just would I think it'd be good for people to hear what it was like from your perspective, and also, and I know you'll say this, but also sort of talk about how everyone's journey is different. And so while you might be able to pull similarities, it's not going to be the exact same. And I know I told you this story, but when I was on my kayak trip and I was talking with one of the other paddlers, Doug, and we were talking about the same thing. He was like, sometimes people ask me for baby advice, and I'm almost like, what's the point of even asking me? Because every kid is just so different.
Yeah.
Just from sleeping in the beginning to personality and what works and what doesn't. And I was like, yeah, I 100% agree, because with our child, it seems like she's just been an awesome sleeper this whole time, and it's so awesome that it's atypical. And so even already just prepping for when we want our second kid, it's just okay, they could be worse at sleeping, we could have more sleepless nights and that sort of thing. So anyways, that just sort of prefaces what we'll be talking about a little bit. And we can always venture back into yoga, because there's kind of sort of an unlimited amount of stuff to talk about with regards to any sort of physical practice. But
yeah, there might be some overlaps.
Yeah, right.
I practiced throughout my whole pregnancy, and finding it again after giving birth. So yeah, we'll just see where it comes in.
So the first question I wanted to ask you was, when did you know you wanted to be a mom?
I feel like I just kind of knew, because I saw my mom. I just watched her, and there was phases in my life where I was literally attached at the hip to her as a small child. They had to drag me off of her to take me into preschool, and my preschool teacher had to literally take me out of my mother's arms, pry me off of her. And then slowly as I started to get older, you just go through that teenage phase where God, Mom, leave me alone, whatever. And then I hit college, and I just something clicked in me, and I had this big apology to my mom for how I feel I treated her, just being God, Mom, you're so annoying. But it just hit me that she was doing her best for me and my sister, and I just all these things that she has done for us just played through my head, and I'm oh my God, she did all this for us. That's amazing, and she's amazing, and she loves us so much. And I think I knew that I wanted to be that.
When you had that revelation or realization?
Yeah, it didn't happen I want to be a mom. That day that I apologized to her. And
How old were you when that happened? You apologized?
I think I was a freshman in college.
Okay, so you're 18.
So it was after I left home, the first time you're away for a long time, just have all these revelations and stuff. But just slowly over time, I just felt And I knew like I was good with kids, and I worked in summer camps a lot, and I just really enjoyed it, and I just had this intuitive feeling that I feel like I'm gonna be a good mom, and I want to be a mom one day. Like I want to be nurturing to somebody who. This sounds kind of dumb, or not dumb, but it sounds kind of like I want someone to need me, you know.
Sure.
Like how June literally needs me to be fed, and like yeah, it's exhausting, but it's good to like feel nurturing to someone, and just unconditional love. Just the second that they place her on your chest, you're like, yep, I'm gonna love you forever, and it's the best feeling ever. And I don't know, just kind of wanting to be a mom just kind of happened over time.
Okay, gotcha. So and part of the reason I asked that question is because when we first started dating, I asked you that question. You know, I think I asked you like, do you want to have kids? And this we'd been dating less than a year, and I think you said that you weren't sure, and so that would have been your sophomore year. And that's not to like call you out on what you just said. That's
no,
just
I remember that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's just because like in my mind immediately it was red flag
Yeah.
because I always knew I wanted to have kids. Like there was never a question. As long as I have memories, I've always wanted it. I always was like, yep, like I'm gonna be a dad. I liked being a son, I guess, and I always just looked forward to having a kid. And that was something that, like, you know, like if I had like crushes in like middle school, high school, or like some of the girls I dated, I was always dating for marriage. Let's put it that way. So like whenever I thought, I was like, can I see myself with this person?
They can be a good mom.
Yeah, literally, like, yeah, 100%. Like, always running through that.
Yeah.
And so, what?
I think when I said I didn't want kids at the time, you know, like Michaela, my sister, just like was
super anti-kid.
Super anti-kid, and then like some of my friends and were just, it was just a time where I was like, do I want kids to tie me down from doing what I want to do, like in a selfish way?
Yeah, well, you're like 19 also.
I know. I'm still young, and I like the thought of having kids. I think I was thinking of like where I was at that time in life. I'm like, I don't know if I want kids. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, and then I matured up, and
yeah, because I remember like when you brought it up. I can't remember how much time had passed, but and how it was brought up. We were like, yeah, I definitely want kids, and so I remember being like,
wait, what?
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No.
And I was very glad to hear it, because that was like, you know, when I realized that I had feelings for you, obviously, like, you're incredibly sweet and kind, and so I would say those are definitely defining traits of yours. But I could just see you being a good mom. And so, you know, that was just kind of what I saw in you initially. And so when you said, oh, I want to have kids now, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I think I pushed that down, like, of just naturally wanting to be a mom. Like, I knew that deep down, but I think I pushed it away because I was in college and I was like having a good time where I was. And so thinking of having kids, I was like, oh, well, what if I don't, then I can do this, this, and this. And I think I just like pushed it to the side.
Gotcha. I remember a couple times getting baby fever while in college. Like sometimes like before we were dating, I didn't even have a girlfriend. I would just be like, whew, like I'm ready. Like I'm like 20 years old and like have nothing going for me right now. But like, I felt like I would just like, oh well, if I had a kid, I would just like completely drop everything and just get a job or whatever, like whatever else is going on. I remember being in high school and the girl I was dating my senior year, I was just like, okay, well, as soon as I graduate, like just like doing the math, because in my head I always just wanted to have kids as early as possible so I could spend the most time with them. So I was like, okay, get married when I'm 22 and then have a kid by the time I'm 23. According to my calculations, I'll have a kid by the time I'm 23 and then again by the time I'm 25 and then I'll be done and I'll be a young parent. And, when they're 10, I'll be 35 and I'll be sick, just like, I was just like, always wanted to maximize time. And I think most of that came from the fact because both my parents are the youngest, my dad being the youngest of 5, mom youngest of 7. And I think my dad's dad was like 46 or 47 when he was born, when my dad was born. Mm-hmm. So just like old. And then my mom's dad wasn't as old when she was born, I don't think. But, both my grandfathers passed away when I was like 9 years old. And so in my head, I was always thinking about when I'm a grandparent, also how much time will I get to have with my grandkids. Mm-hmm. So that was always something I had in my head from a young age, was like, okay, get married young, have kids young, and then I get as much time with my grandkids as possible. Maybe I'll have great grandkids. Like, that was like what I was thinking about when I was 10.
Did you have a Pinterest board?
No. Did you think I had a Pinterest?
No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have one as growing up.
Well, yeah,
girls
Pinterest
were always like,
wasn't a
I
thing.
had a Pinterest board of my dream wedding or my dream home.
Oh, no, I mean, I didn't think about dream wedding or dream home. It was just...
No, it was just a joke that you didn't get.
Deadline.
Maybe whoever's listening will understand, but...
Yeah, I mean, I know what Pinterest is.
You just don't get the joke.
I think I get it. It just wasn't very good. But anyway, so you realize you wanted to have kids sometime around when you were like 19, 20, whenever we had that, conversation the second time, or whenever you just told me, whenever that was. Do you know what, when you envisioned having kids, what excited you most about it?
It's a hard question to answer now that I have one, and
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff I have to do now is in the top of my brain. When I worked with kids, I always enjoyed playing with them, just messing around, and I always imagined doing that with our kid one day. I worked with 3 and 4 year olds, I guess 3 to 6 year olds, and that was just my favorite age, and I just always envisioned myself just how exciting that will be for us to do one day with our kid. Just poking at him and playing around and going on hikes and getting in the dirt and getting dirty, and I think that excites me, or did, before having June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't...
A little mini me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always wanted more siblings as a kid, and I always wanted a clone of myself. I always thought having a twin would be sick. And so I think that also just...
That's why.
Stemmed also from... I think part of that was also just, me wanting to reproduce, just, make more of yourself. I think that's cool. Not...
You guys imagine having 2 Jakes?
Not in... yeah, that's enough. One's enough, but... And I don't mean it in, an overly narcissistic way of, I want as many of me as possible, but I think it's just... I guess the biological drive and the understanding of furthering the human race is a optimistic thing, something that can be good, was just always innate in me. I always saw it in a positive light, and so I was just always ready to do that. So, do you want to talk maybe about... I'd like to hear your perspective on this. So, we had moved in together, and I don't know if we had talked too much about kids before then. When you were still at OU and I was living in Columbus, so when we were distanced for that year. I don't really remember us talking about it too much, but I do remember going on a walk when we lived on Loyola, and we talked about
Big life stuff.
big life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
So, do you remember the conversation, more or less?
If you start saying stuff.
Okay, cool. Cause I guess I'll set the scene and then I'll ask you to try and remember what you thought about beforehand. So we went on a walk, and I can't remember how we brought it up, but we started talking about, okay, like, if we got married, when would that like to be? If we have kids, or like when we have kids. So
like how old we want to be.
Yeah, how old we want to be. So more back to that sort of timeline.
Yeah.
It was like a timeline conversation.
Yeah.
And because we both loved each other for a while, and we were serious.
About, like, when we wanted to get engaged and then married.
Yeah, so
it
was like the first time we had that conversation, and I can't remember how we brought it up, but yeah, I mean, it was everything from when you want to get engaged to then married and then have kids, and that I don't think I was stressed when we were having that conversation, because I just knew to be honest, and I think that's important to say. From the moment we started dating, and I'm pretty sure it was me who said this, I was like, if we're just honest and we're good at communicating, those like the two base rules,
mm-hmm.
then we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that has largely like set the tone.
That was pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely set the tone. And so when we had that conversation, I already knew what I wanted, because I've always known what I wanted, and so.
I'm easily persuaded, so my mind sometimes always changes.
Yeah, especially more so at the time, to like different opinions. Yeah. And so I remember bringing that up, and you were like down
mm-hmm.
for everything, and that was, I remember being like an exciting conversation.
It
so
was. It was like so fun. I feel like we were walking really fast.
Yeah, because I think we were just getting hype on the potential future. And that the fact that we were on the same page.
And it was like just you and I. Like there was no outside opinions that I was thinking about. I was very like honed in on us.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I wanted to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was just good.
Yeah, it was good, and we also talked about moving out of state, I think, in that conversation, because that was something we had talked.
And like how long we wanted to do that for.
Yeah, because that was something we talked about in college. Was like, hey, if this works out, we got to move out of state together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting looking back on the relationship, because I remember when we first started dating, because I had dated my high school girlfriend into freshman year of college. I remember thinking like, okay, that wasn't the best move. When you graduate college, you and Tay should break up, because it's a clean break, new phase of life sort of thing. But you and I weren't having any problems, and like it was a totally different thing. And so like that summer, and we kind of talked about it, that podcast, that's when I had to like figure some stuff out. Once we worked through that, and I realized, okay, like I need to give this my all, and like I see like a potential wife here. And I can't remember if I told you this, I'm sure I did, but when I was talking about it with my parents, my dad was like, he's like, regardless of what happens with you and Tay, I hope you marry someone who looks like at you like Tay does. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm not just like hallucinating, like like this is something worth pursuing and giving your all. And part of that was just me like needing to mature and grow up, and so and so then a year later is when you moved in, pretty much. 'Cause then you had your last year at OU, and then you came in and we started dating. So anyways, I guess my question is like, had you, because we hadn't, before we had that conversation while we were walking, like what were you sort of thinking about while we were living together, and maybe a little bit beforehand? Like what was your thoughts about like family and timeline and that sort of thing before we touch base?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, like what I thought was, I just wanted a family like my own.
Mm-hmm.
We were close. We're pretty open of a family. We always make time for each other, and it's just me and my sister, so I always wanted just 2 kids. I was always like, oh, I want a boy and a girl, like if that works out, but whatever, just 2 kids, maybe between like 2 to 3 year age gap, because that's what my sister and I are.
Yeah, I always like that age gap.
And you and your sister.
Same age gap, yeah.
I feel like my family just gave me, they're just such good role models for what I wanted for my own family.
Mm-hmm.
And what, at the time, how old was I?
When we had that conversation?
Yeah. 23? 22?
No, you might have been 22. I mean, it was May. You moved in May of 2019.
Oh.
So, what's the year? 2024? So 5 years ago? And what are you, 27? You're 22, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like I wanted to have kids around the age I am now, which we did.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going according to plan for sure.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember what I thought
That's okay.
before, because that's a million years ago.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we really don't have to talk about too much of that in the interim between when we had that conversation and, leading up to you getting pregnant, because we stuck with the plan, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're doing everything that we said we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. We moved out of state. We said we were going to...
Like, to this day.
Yeah, we said we were going to try it for 2 years, and it ended up being like 22 months instead of 24 months, so it was a little less than 2 years. But
we miss our twins.
And that was just how the lease timed out. But, yeah, so got engaged June of 21.
Mm-hmm.
Moved out of state September 21. And then...
Got married a year later.
September 22. Yeah, and so that basically we moved, and then you started wedding planning the same time you were getting your yoga cert, like we talked about last time. And so we get married, and that was September 3rd, 22. And pretty soon after, I mean, I don't think this is TMI, but like we knew when we were trying to get pregnant, like because we knew we had the timeline pretty dialed in. And so I guess if I were to offer any advice, it'd just be crystal on your communication as far in advance as you can be.
Yeah,
and if you
sure
have
you're on the same page.
Yeah, and make sure you talk about an idea before you get too attached to it as well.
Yeah.
That way you're not like planning to do something and you haven't brought it up, and then you bring it up and you're like, shoot. Now you might have a really good idea, but you just have to back it up with why it makes sense, I guess.
The data.
And and just like sometimes things make sense and sometimes they don't, and you have to like talk it out, and you're like, oh no, that would be dumb, you're right. Or it's like, I'm super hype, are you feeling this? Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
But so yeah, back to the thing I was saying about being TMI, and so we knew pretty much right after we got married that when did you go off birth control?
I think it was before, like right after the wedding.
That's what I thought. Like it was pretty soon after.
Because we were like, I think I told you I wanted to try on the honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be...
And I wanted to be off birth control for a few months to
Right.
get my body...
Yes.
Like,
have several cycles and
Yeah.
and rebalance the hormones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
then-
we were both in agreement on that.
Like, honeymoon was March, so we were like, okay, let's try.
Well, I think you wanted to wait until at the very, like maybe on or after the honeymoon, because you wanted to have some margaritas on the beach. That was the main thing. Just to be able to have some drinks.
They literally handed me a margarita when we walked in. I was like, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, that was
This is what
dope.
I wanted.
That was very cool.
Like we both were starving.
Yeah, that was a long day.
Yeah. And then soon after I did get pregnant. So it was like
It was the month after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the month after our honeymoon, so it was like March, then April, so sometime April. And I mean, when we went to our friend Marissa's bachelorette party, you didn't drink in the event that you were pregnant, because we had been like, I mean, cycle tracking, and it was like, okay, probably ovulating. Let's make sure we don't miss our window. Which was kind of weird, because it was also like weird having a bit more structure to like having sex when it's like, okay, we're like, there's a mission, you know, it's not just like for fun. It's like we're trying to get a little zygote like going on there. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean, ladies.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Cause I remember, never mind.
Yeah,
Never
don't need to
mind.
go there.
But yeah, but yeah, I mean, cycle tracked, shot the shot, sniped it, nailed it. Nailed. And then, yeah, so what was the experience? Do you want to talk about what it was like to find out?
The day.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there was like some anticipation, because I think you were texting Kath and you were like, should I take a test? I mean, you tell the story.
Yeah, so at the time I was working at a Montessori school for the 3 to 6 year olds. So I was at work and I texted our friend Kathleen, because they were trying at the same time. She wasn't pregnant then, right?
Yes, she was.
Oh.
She
like at
just 3 weeks ahead of you.
Oh, so she just found out for them. So I texted her and I was like, hey, like, how soon did you take the test? Because I'm only 4 days late, but like I'm not usually like that, and I'm just like really excited. Like I just want to know. And she's like, do it now. Like just do it. And so on my lunch break, I went to CVS and got the test. Came home, so I was only like 7 minutes from work, and I only had like 15 minutes to be at home before I had to go back. And so like I took this test, and it was positive. And our friend Lauren, really good friend Lauren and Diego, other podcast, Sebastian Strong, a little bit ago, like we were all out together, and she's like, I want to be the first one that you tell. And I was like, okay, deal. So I FaceTimed her, and she was literally on the beach sending Diego and the rest of them off on the kayaking trip that Jake just did.
Yeah, it would have been day 4.
Yeah.
Beginning of day 4.
And so I have like screenshots of her face in the camera, just like, oh my god, and like my face is like crying and like covering my mouth and showing the pregnancy test in there, and I was like, oh my god, I have to go back to work. And like Lauren's the only one that knows, and so I go back to work, and the lead teacher that I was assisting with, he's like super chiller, awesome guy. Shout out Adam.
Yeah, shout out Adam.
I show up and it's nap time for the kids, so I have to like go in, and he's like about to go to lunch, and I'm just like buzzing, and like I have to be quiet, and which isn't hard for me to do.
Yeah, you love that.
But I like tell him, and he can't really like. He just has to be quiet too, but like
he's like short circuiting.
Yeah, and so we're both just like, oh my god, this is crazy. And yeah, so he was like the second person who found out, because how am I supposed to contain myself?
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, that was the day, and then literally the rest of the day I was plotting how I would tell you. And so I finally planned that I would put the pregnancy test behind all of his 50 million vitamins that are up in the cupboard, but the cupboard is like over the sink, And like
Yeah, I
I can
can't-
reach things fine.
Well,
but
I
he
can.
has to,
Hold up. I can reach things fine. I just
No,
can't
but it's not
necessarily
eye
see.
level.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So I
can reach all day.
I'm a tippy toes. So I put the pregnancy test behind them, and just like acting normal when he gets home, and he gets his vitamins out, and then closes.
You told me to.
Oh yeah, I was like, "Have you had your vitamins today?" And so he gets them out, and I don't think you saw it.
No.
Did I? What else did I? I was like, "Did you get them all?" And then you look up there and you find it, and so that's.
Yeah.
That's
So
how it went.
it was funny because I was at the gym working out with my buddy Tyler, and Tay texted me. She was like, "Do you think you can come home from the gym early?" And I figured that was why, because obviously we had been trying, and
Like, why else would I have you come home early?
yeah, and it was getting to be that time, because I think I knew you were approaching lateness, or that you were late.
Yeah.
And so I remember talking to Tyler. I was like, I don't want to say this is what it is, but I think it could be. And so we finished up quick, and I came back, and I was looking at you because I figured something was up, and I'm waiting for what's going on. And so when you told me to go to the medicine or the vitamin supplement cabinet, I opened it up, and I was like, I figured that's what it was, but then I didn't get it, and I was like, okay, it's actually not in there. What's going on? And then you're like, go back, and I was like, okay, and yeah, pulling it down, I was like, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
awesome.
incredible.
And then all the FaceTimes to families began.
Oh yeah.
That was just so
But we told him not to tell everyone, just to be safe, because it can have you can have a failed pregnancy.
Yeah, that was so hard though, because it was only 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why we told our mom and dad and stuff not to tell people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was so early on.
Yeah. I was kind of nervous a little bit, but everything was great, and
yeah,
moved back, and the day that we came back, it was a hoopla of a day.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But then the following day at 9 a.m. was our 8.
No. Tay, it was that day. We got back
Thursday night. We got in. Remember, we stayed at the German Inn.
Yeah,
and
but
it
we
was Friday.
Okay, but
we drove at 2 a.m.
Right,
so
we got in
Friday.
Friday morning, and we woke up on Friday and had the appointment.
I don't count that.
Yeah, I mean,
So you go to sleep and it's the next day.
Right, I typically agree with that, but the way you said it is somewhat misleading. But yeah, it's literally, we got in Thursday at 2 a.m. and then woke up and had an appointment at 10 a.m.
Yeah, because
And then it was at the wrong
drove to the
location.
wrong location.
Yeah, Tay didn't know where her
had
appointment
a
was.
meltdown. Got in and it was fine.
Yep, and that's when we got the 8-week ultrasound.
Yeah, and then we told.
And that's when we were like, okay, we're just gonna start telling people I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So that summer, obviously you didn't really show too much. Maybe a little bit by the end of the summer, but.
I think I started showing until I was 20 weeks.
Yeah,
I was bloated all the time.
It was pretty far in. What was the first trimester like for you?
I was freaking tired.
Yeah, you were tired.
I mean, we did.
I feel like the first trimester was my least favorite, from my perspective, because you were tough to be around. I was like, this is
cranky.
This shit's for the birds.
Yeah, well, it's not about you.
No, I'm just saying it was not fun.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fun.
You never got nauseous though, so I mean that's
there was that one time where I ate a waffle and I was like, I need to spit this waffle out.
Yeah, I mean, but you weren't overwhelmed with nausea throughout the first trimester. That wasn't a defining feature.
No, I was just really tired. I feel like for that first week that we moved back, you and I didn't work. We just had the week off.
Mm-hmm.
I was so exhausted because we moved back that weekend wedding, plus just the whole moving situation was.
I think I'm just gonna. Can I tell that story real quick? The moving story.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because it's actually worth telling.
Maybe somebody will learn from.
Yeah, so we were supposed to. Well, I mean, there's nothing we could do
Actually,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
there
there was no
It was
fault
so out
of
of our
ours.
control.
So these movers were supposed to come on a Wednesday to
Just a day before we were gonna arrive.
to take our shit from North Carolina to Ohio, and they had some sort of issue where
It was with
the truck. They had to like get a new truck or something. And so Wednesday got postponed into Thursday, but the communication was like real spotty.
Yeah, it was
Like we kept having to call their home base, who would call them on their cell phone, and like we didn't have the mover's direct number, so it was like this phone tag scenario where like, when are they coming? We stayed up late on Wednesday because they said it was going to be around dinner time on Wednesday.
And then the lady, I called her again, and she said it would be like 11 p.m.
On Wednesday, and so we stayed up. We've got all our stuff packed,
and we literally had to sleep on our mattress in the living room. I mean, I slept on the couch, and you slept on the floor.
Some floor situation. Yeah, but we
it
had
was so bad.
we had cleared both bedrooms and put all the stuff in our central living area, and it was just everything was just like stacked on each other, and we were just waiting for these movers, and we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll go to bed. And so I was like waking up every hour or so just in the event that they came super late. And
it felt like when you have a flight at 6 a.m. and you have to wake up at 3 a.m. and you're just like anticipating waking up, and you don't want to miss your flight too, so you have like anxiety. At least that's what it made me feel like. I didn't get any sleep.
Didn't feel that way at all. But
I was also pregnant in the early stages of the pregnancy, so I think I was just feeling a lot of things.
Yeah, and then so they finally came around like 3 p.m. on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 p.m. or so, and I think we got out of there by 6 or 6:30. And then we had to drive, so we left North Carolina, drove the 7 hours to Ohio. And then when we got to the place we were staying at, so we stayed in this place via Furnish Finders, which is typically a site used for traveling nurses who stay for anywhere from like 4 to 6 months at a place in German Village in Columbus. And we got there and our code wasn't working, and it's like raining at like 1:30.
It's an actual thunderstorm.
It's like raining at like 1:30 a.m. I'm like putting the key code in, it's not working. Call our host, he's not picking up. So we stayed at that. It's not German Village Motel, is it? But is that what it's called?
German Village Inn or something.
German Village Inn. Yeah. So we stayed at a motel.
I was like, this is so nice.
Oh
It's such a freaking motel.
Just regular.
Probably bugged somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, a bed, like.
And so we didn't even have time to check in. We drove to your appointment.
What do you mean we didn't have time to check in?
To the place where we're gonna live at.
Oh.
Yeah, we just stayed at the motel, left, went to the wrong place for your ultrasound, and then luckily they just had a free spot open because we were late and we missed it, and they at the right place they had a free spot open. Mm-hmm. Then we were struggling with parking, and it was like this whole thing. And then
I remember I parked in the parking garage, and I'm walking down, and I called, either you called me or I called you at the right place where we were.
Oh yeah, because we were in 2 different cars.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna go to my mom's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just crying my eyes out in this random parking lot at Riverside Hospital. And I was like, let's just not go. Let's just not go in. I can't. I don't know. I just wanted to give up. And then you came by, swung and picked me up, and cause I didn't know where to go in at.
Yeah, I can't
know where to go.
I can't remember what the situation was all the way there, but
so you came and picked me up, and we finally got around the parking garage to the door we had to go in.
Got the ultrasound. Everything was good. No, but wait, I had to drop you off because I had to go meet the movers. That's what it was. I was like, why did we drive separate? Yeah, because I had to go meet the movers at our storage unit. and unlock it for them. And then I stayed at my mom's, which was by the storage unit, all while you were doing that. And then you came to my mom's, and this is so funny. So after the movers put everything in our storage unit, there's the storage unit is off of Riverside Drive on 33, and there's this big hill, and they didn't go at the correct angle, and so the hitch on the back of this big long truck caught on the driveway, and then they were stuck because the rear wheels were lifted, and so I felt so bad for these guys because they had a terrible time, switching trucks and having to go through the horde. It wasn't their fault either, and so they were literally stuck halfway into 33, and had to wait to come get craned out. Like a crane had to come and lift them. Oh my God, it was crazy. And then, so after that happened, you and I went. Luckily our host was awesome. He reimbursed us for the inn. We brought our stuff in, and then I think we went to go meet Sean and Kendall from episode 2. Watch it if you haven't. Listen to it if you haven't. And when we got back, then our friend Sam, episode 6. Dang, all the podcast homies were there that week. But after hanging out with them, then Sam came over to our house. Sam stayed the night, and then we drove to Fredericktown.
Oh, I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
And we went to our friend Marissa and Anthony's wedding, and it was a beautiful time, and we camped overnight there. But it was just move, appointment, like all these things. It was just a marathon from Thursday until Sunday, and then Sunday we chilled with Sam for a while, and we dropped her off somewhere, and then...
And I just was freaking wiped.
Done.
I was wiped out that whole week.
Yeah.
And then I had to start my other job, and not good.
Yeah, and then you didn't like that job at all.
Yeah.
So that was tough. I think that was my least favorite time of the pregnancy. It was because you were just super tired and drained from the first trimester, just adjusting to that, and then you also really didn't like your job, and so you were just having a bad time all the time.
Yeah. Just realizing you used to work with kids all the time.
It's 8:15 p.m.
And realize you don't want to do it anymore. You know, I don't know. I thought I was really good. I was good at it.
Oh yeah, you were good at it.
And I thought this is something that I think I should continue to do because I'm good at it and it's fun.
You got more pay because you'd been in it for 2 years and.
But then I also the Montessori school in North Carolina, so much better of a it's an actual campus. It's nice. It's naturey. It's got freaking grass. And the one that I worked at here for maybe a month, it was just the bottom level of a building in the middle of Polaris, which is it's got IKEA there. There's all these restaurants and everything, a concrete jungle, and their playground was just sad. And I'm these poor kids. And so I just really wasn't happy with that either. I just felt bad for the kids, and it was also super hot, and some reason the air quality was really, really bad.
Well, that's when the fires in New York.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fires in New York. So sometimes we could only take the kids out for 15 minutes a day. That's the only time they got to play, and I was this is not fun.
I feel you didn't they had a different system set up that you didn't like. I can't remember with what regard, but you talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I can't remember what they did, but I don't. Yeah.
Safe to say it
Not
didn't
a
last
fan.
long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're in the first trimester. It starts to get a little bit better after you quit that job, right? Then you start doing front desk at Orange Theory, and
I start teaching yoga.
Well, so I think we talked about it a little bit, but what did you have to do? Because you had to do some more training because the Yoga 6 in Powell hadn't opened yet, and so
just a little weekend training on the different Yoga 6 classes.
And you weren't showing too much yet, so you felt like you'd still do all the poses and everything.
Yeah, I was just being a little baby about it when I think of it now. Like at the time, yeah, it was maybe like 12 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And there's like the different formats, and some of them are a little quicker than others, or like you're on your belly, and so like I didn't do the belly ones obviously, but I was just like,
You probably could have.
I don't know, probably, but there were just other things that I was just being wimpy on that I chose not to do. I was like, yeah, because I'm pregnant. It's like,
I mean, in your defense, like, 'cause at the time, I was, like, what you're saying now, I didn't say it like how you say it. Like, I didn't say you were being wimpy, but I was like, well, like, if you could do it before, you can do it now. Like, I was encouraging you to, do things to your full ability.
It was the first time.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's your first
you're
time,
always super cautious.
you're cautious, and, like, I feel like that is a natural, like, that makes sense for you because you're a bit more cautious in general, especially compared to me, so.
So there's got to be someone in the relationship.
Yeah, there's some yin and yang there for sure. It's good. There's some balance. But you're more cautious than I am in general. And so I thought it made sense that you were a little bit overly cautious, and I was kind of pushing you like, oh, it's okay. Like, you go for it.
Yeah. Well, and I tried. Like, I took some Orange Theory workouts, and I feel like I could have done more. I know I could have done more. So, like, for the next kid, I'm gonna do more. But, I let the, like, tiredness kind of overpower, and I didn't have a whole lot of dedication to a workout routine, which I usually don't anyway. I just like to. I do not have a workout routine. There's no routine. It's not like Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That's true. But yeah. I'd say you were reasonably active, and like you hit a certain amount of yoga.
Yeah, I did yoga almost every day, whether it's like 5-10 minutes of stretching, like.
And then you had your elite membership at Orange Theory and Chapel Hill. So like you had Orange Theory, you had yoga, and then you'd sometimes do like your own little jogs and stuff. So maybe not so much routine, but it was still a reasonable part of your weekly existence. Just less so when you were pregnant, because you stopped Orange Theory.
Yeah, the second trimester was not my favorite. The first one sucked, but the second one was not my favorite at all. More like emotionally and physically, because emotionally, like, all these hormones are like kicking you in the ass and slapping you in the face, and you still have to go through your whole day and with all these new feelings, and why am I so angry at you? You didn't do anything, but I'm mad at you for some reason, and I'm like overly emotional at this thing that I wasn't before. Why am I that? And I'm like, oh wait, because I'm pregnant and there's new things happening in my body. I'm growing something. And then physically, you just start to notice the changes happening, like
weight gain, pretty much.
Yeah, which I didn't really change. It was all baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Mostly, but like I knew, like you can tell, or I could tell. And I've always had like some self-consciousness, just always lingering, and so it really ramped it up.
Just around the body, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's super common.
Yeah, I'm not saying it.
Oh, I know. I'm just like, you're not alone in that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was definitely the toughest part, and then third trimester was like, oh, I can see like the baby bump, and the excitement is starting to come, and
like I remember the first time you started feeling kicks, because you were like kind of getting stretched, like I don't know, like you weren't feeling
gas.
You weren't feeling connected with her. That was really tough for you. Like I remember you were like, I'm getting bigger, and like I know she's healthy, and everyone says everything's good, but like
when everyone's like,
there's
oh,
this
just wait
separation.
until the kicks.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not feeling them. Like, and so I guess my advice, if anyone wants it, if you're pregnant, if someone tells you like, oh, wait when this happens, wait for this, even like after, like post baby being born, like everybody's journey is different. Everyone gets there sooner or later, but like just focus on you, because everyone's like, oh, wait until you can feel her kicking, and oh, have you felt her kicking yet? It's like, no, like, should I be? And then I get all worried, and then I'm like anticipating that next doctor's visit just so I can hear her heartbeat, to like, ah, okay, like she's alive, she's healthy. And then like later on, maybe like a week or two, there wasn't even a time frame of that, but started feeling her kicking.
Yeah, it was like soon
And it
after
was-
you were getting stressed, like when it, like
Yeah.
feeling the disconnect, it was like within a week or two. It
Yeah.
really was like super quick, and then you were like, okay.
Yeah. Tra-la-la.
I mean, for me, so 'cause like I said, I wasn't there for the first ultrasound because I had to go mess with the movers, but the 12-week one I was there for, and I saw the ultrasound, and that was amazing. But what really got me was the heartbeat. Whoa, 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 whoa. It was like 155 beats a minute, or it was like 160 or something, super fast, especially at that stage. But that was like what brought tears to my eyes, because like, I don't know, there's something just about a heartbeat that is just like so tied to life.
So it gives you goosebumps.
Oh yeah, I got goosebumps and teary eyed. I was like, let's go. There's just like a little flesh pump getting after it in there. And
it's
this
just
kid just
so incredible.
Self-assembling inside of my wife.
That's like the part that gives me goosebumps.
Oh, the whole time that's all I was thinking about. I was like, there's just some teeny tiny fish human that is like going through this cascade of self-assemblage where one thing leads to the next, and oh, this happens, which triggers this whole response, and then oh, this starts to form, and it's just like the most amazing, miraculous thing that you know about. And like I feel like I had a reasonable amount of knowledge, maybe compared to the average Joe, going into the whole pregnancy situation, but then experiencing it and just like, oh my God, my child is self-assembling inside of my wife, who, we chose to do this, and now it's happening. It's just, there's a lot of euphoria and just
very powerful.
bewilderment. You're just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Despite knowing exactly what's going on, you're like, what is happening?
It's just the most I was thinking about it earlier today. What is the word I'm like? It's the thing that we're literally formed.
Purpose, destiny.
Purpose. Yeah. It's like what our bodies are made to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally, our boobs are there for food.
Yeah, there's a reason for everything.
Like, it's just.
Yeah, it's truly true. I mean, the miracle of life,
Ain't it a thing?
Ain't it a thing? Yeah. So I mean that everything from the heartbeat to then the kicks, and then you start feeling them and all that. And I think we might have mentioned this a little bit last time, but kind of going back to what we said at the beginning, like everyone's experience is different. It's the same with like people's comments. Like, not everyone is going to react to the same way to certain comments, the way that you reacted or the way that someone else reacted. So like, there are certain things that I feel like in general, there's a general consensus between a lot of people, like a lot of pregnant ladies, like what they like and don't like, in terms of like random people just like coming up and touching your belly, or like, that typically doesn't go over too well. But
like,
some people
foods that make you throw up. Like,
yeah, questions like that. But like, and as someone who wasn't pregnant, but like part of that is just like perception. So some people get those questions and they're like, nah, it doesn't bother me, and some people get that and they're like, get off my back, you know?
Like, the first couple are fine, but it's just more of, like, you just
Over time.
hear it so often.
Yeah.
That's where I was at, was just hearing so many of the same things being asked and being told, like, other people's opinions, and my patience grew very thin for that kind of stuff towards the end.
Sure.
Because I just really didn't feel like listening anymore.
Sure.
But I had no choice, because people just start, like, when you're pregnant, and now that I'm a parent and I see other pregnant ladies, or I have a few friends that are pregnant, they, like, it's their first time, and I just went through it, and I want to share, but now I know only if they ask. Like, if they want it, I'm happy to. But, like,
or if they're, like, really screwing something up. It's like, hey.
Like, hey, I tried this, and it didn't work. Or, like, not that it didn't work, because every baby's going to be different with it. But I guess, I don't know.
Well, I think it's all, like, because, like, once you're a parent, you become, like, you're in the club. Like, other parents are like, haha.
I know, when I'm on a walk with June in the stroller, and I pass, like, another mom, it's just like,
Yeah, there's just a lot.
You put in work, don't you?
Well, there's a lot more, like, understanding and shared experience, even with people who have, like, kids way older. And so a lot of the time, like, so, kind of building off what we were talking about, one of the things that I hear a lot is, oh, just wait till you get to this. Wait till you get to that.
Yeah.
People say that all the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me. One, because, like, I don't care. Like, I can take in your information and have a completely neutral reaction to it. Because it's similar to, like, the weather. Oh, here's what the weather's doing, you know, da da da. It's just like it doesn't matter. And so when someone says, oh, just wait for this or just wait for that, it's like, bro, I'm already stoked for all of it. So I can engage in that conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but not trying to wish time away. And so that's, I say that a lot, but it doesn't bother me, because I know that everyone else, like, speaking about parents, they're just excited for you, you know, and that is what I really care about, is for the most part, everyone has just been so awesome in wanting to just share and enjoy, and people ask for baby pics, which I love showing them, and that's been good. And okay, well, let's circle back around here though. So, second trimester, going into the third trimester, how are you feeling? Because let me do some math real quick. So going back December, November, October. So we lived in that place in German Village from June until October, and to save money, we moved into a studio.
Good times.
Yeah, and so the studio was on Neil Ave, and so we went from German Village to just being like...
Guys, we were on a tour of Columbus. In a matter of 6 months. Yeah,
we did. We moved around, and so we went to the Shore North. We were living off Neil Ave, and we were in a studio, and so, you know, just studio.
Literally, to give you guys a picture, it's like a 1-bedroom hotel room.
Yep.
Maybe a little smaller.
I mean, there was a bed and a tiny kitchen.
Like a really long, kind of like you walk in the door and it's like a longer way from the door to window.
I mean, babe, it just totally depends on the hotel, but I see what you're saying.
Totally.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. There's like a walk-in, but no, you walk in the front door and it's just boom, our bed, TV, kitchen, and like teeniest tiny hallways to the bathroom, and that's where we were for the third trimester.
Yeah.
And so like, I remember feeling bad because I would have to wake up at 3:45.
But then
a couple times a week. Yeah.
Also on Friday mornings.
Yeah, and so I mean, so you were still waking up at 3:45 on Fridays to open at UA.
Yeah. In my third trimester.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
I don't know. We did it. You're better at adapting to whatever
than
I am.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't know how I did it. And
Yeah.
I was in such a good mood. I don't think I mean, why are you doing that face?
I don't remember you being in
I
such a
wasn't.
good mood. That's not like something I
I
think.
think so because
That's good.
if
I mean, you were a trooper. Like, I don't remember you complaining too much.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I was in such a good mood, guys. I didn't complain.
Yeah.
as
Right.
much.
I was like, I guess we need to define what that means, but yeah. No, you barely
Like
complained.
thinking back on it, like wow, I can't believe I like did that because, gosh, I would have been so pissed if I wasn't like grown up more, or what am I trying to say?
Shit, if I know. You would have been what?
I think I just would have been like so pissed, like why are we?
Oh,
why
if
are
you
we
were
just,
less
like,
mature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
good.
like we're just hopping around to all these places, and I'm pregnant, and like we're trying to get a freaking house.
Yeah, and
as
so
all this stuff is happening.
pause because that is important. So we had been going through the whole house process that summer, like trying to get pre-approved for loans, that sort of thing. But then the process was delayed because you stopped the Montessori gig and then started at UA. And so
Yeah, that was like
if you're ever
huge-
applying for loans, if you can, try and hold on to the job. Now Tay was just like, I can't. My mental health's taken. I'm not even finishing my last day. Like we're
I know.
I was like,
and
I was mortified.
yeah, don't do that, guys.
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of that, and that was the last time I'm ever gonna do that because my morals
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
were just like
You just came home and you're like, yeah, I quit and I'm not going back. And I was like, oh my God.
every time I do that, I've only done it a couple times because it was at a retirement or a assisted living place where I was literally spoon feeding people, and it was really depressing. It was terrible.
Yeah, I went there. I helped unsolicited. I came over. You're like, come hang out, and I ended up working for 3 hours.
Not at the Ashford.
Oh.
No, this was like a place in Polaris, or pretty close to the yoga studio. But this was like people that were unable to even lift, like they were unable
When
to
was
feed
this?
themselves.
When did you work there?
Because I was only there for like 2 weeks because it was so terrible and depressing.
Oh, I don't
and
remember
awful.
that. I'm sure I didn't like it when you quit without notice, though.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But don't ever do that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I remember coming home and you were like, yeah, I quit. And I was like, okay, well, now we're screwed. You've screwed us for this pre-approval process because you went from having a job for 2 years and then just in the start of your third to now having no job. So we have to like restart. We have to get, however many weeks of pay stubs. It was just this whole thing. And it worked out. But I remember like just being absolutely mortified. Like, what is going on? Like, in what world? But
Today's world.
yeah. I mean, I just had to deal with that. But then, regardless, I chilled out. I was like, whatever, this is reality. Apparently, it was worse than I realized. I mean, you were complaining about it all the time. But I just figured you would just get used to it. And then it was like, oh, wow. But that's what it was. I had to reframe it. It's like, okay, it was so bad that you just have to trust that was how bad it was, combined with the being tired from the first trimester. But regardless, that set back the pre-approval process. And so we were gonna be in German Village a little longer. And there was a couple also like uncertainties with my job because there was a role that was open and then wasn't, and then so I had to go back to doing something else. And in the meantime, before I was head coach at Westville, I was just coaching, so I was making less, and so we were burning through money staying at this German Village spot because it was expensive, because it was fully furnished, and we had a storage unit. Mm-hmm. So that's why we went to the studio, because it was way cheaper, and we could actually save a little bit of money. And then we were getting close to the due date, and it was like getting really close to like, are we going to get a house? Are we not? Like because we put an offer at one spot, it didn't work out, and then we put an offer at another. But regardless, Tay didn't want to have the kid at the studio because we were planning on doing that if we had to. but it was good. And thank God we didn't, because it was just gonna be.
God.
That would have been tough. We could have done it, but there would have been no escaping that teeny room. You would have just been like in it. And so then we moved to my mom's spot, and we were there for 2 weeks before then we were able to move to our house that we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
And so
then June came
2 weeks after we moved into this place. Because we moved in December 16th and June was born on the 5th of January. So it's just about 2-3 weeks. Yeah, so anyways, moved from North Carolina to Ohio, from German Village to German Village to the studio, and then from the studio to my mom's. So just like, and then to the house. So it's 4 moves from from June of 23 to January
almost
to December.
To the day.
No,
literally June 16th
yeah,
was when we moved.
It was 4 times in 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
June 16th
to December 16th.
To December 16th.
Yeah, 4 times in 6 months. So it was just so crazy. And I also helped, right before we moved, I helped Tyler and Ashley move. I helped.
You're like the mover.
I am the mover. I helped Nora and DK move shit from Nora's grandma's. And then I also helped Eli. And then I also helped BQ as well. So I did so much moving during that 6 months. Oh, it was crazy.
I can't believe all the stuff that we have done.
Oh, wild. It's been a wild time. No doubt about that. But yeah, so I think a cool thing about all that though was just we did all of that. Like life goes on. Regardless.
Just kept going.
Yeah, because and I've been saying this a lot recently, but nothing motivates you like necessity. And like when you have no choice, and that's
that's probably why I wasn't so upset with what we were doing, because I was like, we are saving money living in this studio.
Yeah, there's like
we have to do this.
The pros are like there's cons and everything, but the pros were very clear.
Yeah. And
so it definitely helped make the decision making easier. And at the end of the day, I'll say this a million times. I don't care how many episodes I say it on. There's always someone who has it worse, and so it's just, we are just so totally blessed. Eric helped us out so much. My buddy Eric, who will be on an episode eventually.
Yeah.
But he helped us secure the studio and helped us out with finding this house, and also is the reason we got the realtor we did. Shout out Brad Colorzio. But
I mean, really, just
my parents, your parents.
What a team.
Yeah, we really had so much support. I mean, we had friends move us in to the house we're at now. So even though there was a lot, we also had a lot of support the whole time, and we went through the whole pregnancy journey with our friends Alex and Kath, and that was just so amazing to have someone go through the thing at the same time and to have their kid born 6 days before ours. So then, now we've had the same experience of newborn to infant now? Is that what this is called? Infant stage. Just to have a partner, or I guess a pair, going through the same thing that we're going through has just been so nice. And I mean, you can speak to that more so. Just what's it been like having another mom literally doing the exact same things you guys, because you guys actually see each other now more than Alex and I do, which is crazy.
Yeah, we try to go on walks, like stroller walks. It's maybe like every 2 weeks, just because life just keeps happening, and we just, I don't know, it was like a couple weeks ago or maybe last week, but something was going on with June, and I would just text her and be like, hey, did you ever go through this with May? Like, is May going through this? And we would just be able to talk about that, and just, I think it makes both of us feel so more at ease with what's going on with our girls, because you have someone who's going through it with you, or at least already went through it, and now I can kind of expect to go through it too. And like every time that we go on walks, it's like blah 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 blah, and like we talk about one thing and that leads to another thing, and like all about motherhood and like what we're experiencing, and also like life stuff. Like she has a part-time job, and she has 2 jobs, I think. And
you would know on that one.
well, see, we talk about so much stuff that
It's hard to keep track
but like
of.
yeah, we just there's not enough time in the world for us to talk about every single thing we want to talk about, because we're just so excited to be together to talk about things. And like this last time we went for a walk, it was just, I feel like it was probably both of our favorite times. I don't know, I can't speak for Kath, but we were texting afterwards, and we were just like, it's just so incredible to be on this journey with you, and like we just have so much love for each other and for our girls, and I don't know, it's just, you don't feel alone, which motherhood can be kind of lonely, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom like I am. Some days you're like, oh, I just want it to be June and I. And other days I'm like, oh my god, I feel so lonely. Who am I? What's going on? Does she like me? Like,
why is my husband going on a boat trip without me?
I said you could.
Yeah, I know you did.
Because I'm awesome.
You are awesome, for sure.
But yeah, having a buddy alongside you is just so great. And Kath is such a special person. So is Alex. They're both special. And very, very grateful to have her by my side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, you know, between my mom and Kath and your mom, and like, do you feel like you're in part of like this mother coven now? Like, do you feel like that's like
we all get together and wear black cloaks.
No, but like
on the full moon.
Yeah, okay, but on the real, is there some sort of like matriarchal bond that you feel now with like other mothers, especially like the ones closer, like in your life, you're like same page, same team?
Yeah, definitely.
Uh-huh.
I have so much more respect for all mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, not that I didn't have respect for moms, but
sure. I mean, there's a difference between like knowing and understanding, though.
Yeah, and
experience.
So, shout out to my aunt Karen in Texas.
Yep.
She is a single mom. My cousin's going to college, and I don't know how she did it alone. She moved to Texas, and where none of my family lives there. So she literally had nobody alongside her. She had nobody to refer to ask questions. And so I remember talking to her on the phone. June was only a couple weeks old, and I was just like, hey, I have so much respect for you. What you do, like, you do so much, and I see you now for like all that you've done for Shelby.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how you did it, but you did it, and she's going to college.
Uh-huh.
And she's a grown adult now, and like, that's amazing. And I just give huge kudos to her. And, you know, same with my mom. Like I said, I had this whole apology for her because I came to in college. But, like, now having a kid, it's like, I understand why she's always giving me her clothes. Or she's always letting me finish what's on her plate, because my plate was empty. And she's like, do you want mine? Or, like, she literally takes the clothes off of her back to give to me if I'm cold. And that's, like, I get that now. I would give June everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give her everything. And, like, same with my grandma. It's my mom's mom. Or, like, it's just, moms are always going to be moms. whether they're a grandma,
Oh, for sure.
great grandma, whatever, and I feel closer to your mom
Sure.
now. I feel like I can tell her pretty much anything and she'll listen. And during my pregnancy too, she was like, some days I was just having a bad day and I would just talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
When we go over there for dinner, and like with June, there was like a couple times we went over there and like your sister was there and Lisa's like, how are you doing? And I was like crying. Like she made me cry, not on purpose, just whenever someone asks you how are you, and you're like not okay
at the breaking point,
and I'm like, I'm not okay, and I just like kind of start crying a little bit, and she just gives, like, your sister just gives me a hug, and same with your mom, like that's happened before with her. So there's just this new like motherhood, female empowerment that I feel.
Nice, that's great. I mean, I feel like you should feel that way, so that's good.
Yeah.
So, thinking about the, well, birth story, so just because I was going to ask some questions post-birth, but let's run through this real quick just for context. January 5th, 2 something in the morning. You're like, I think my one, whatever.
I'll take it from here.
Okay, go for it.
So
I'm going to pee while you do this.
Guys, it was 3 a.m. I get up to go to the bathroom for like the 5th time. I'm 37 weeks and 2 days. So almost, I was just full term. 37 weeks is considered full term. Get up to pee, and then I go back to bed, and I'm like, am I still peeing? Like, I felt stuff still coming out, so I get up to go to the bathroom again, and I'm just sitting on the toilet for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, it doesn't feel like I'm peeing. It just feels like liquid is coming out. And sorry if this is TMI, but that's what was happening. And so I feel like, okay, it's all done. And then I put a pad on and whatever and go back to bed, and I wake Jacob and I'm like, hey, I think my water broke. And he's like, what? Oh, okay. Let's just wait. Give it a minute or something. And so like we went back to bed. And so by then, I think,
because I've been reading what to expect when you're expecting, so I knew that like once the water broke, like we still had plenty of time, and so I wasn't too concerned, and I did fall asleep immediately.
Yeah, I think I laid down for a bit, but like I just felt really weird. Like I just felt uncomfortable, and I was like anxious, obviously, because
fair.
I knew what was going to happen.
Totally fair.
And so by then it was like 4 something, I don't know, between 4 and 5, and I wake Jake up again. I'm like, I think I'm having some small contractions, and so we're like, it's cool. On, like, let's do it.
Did I shower?
You did.
Yeah,
but like I was,
because we had time, like we weren't like rushing.
I wasn't scared. I was excited and nervous.
Yeah, I was ready. I was stoked.
But like calm, because as calm as you can be.
For sure. Well, because I mean, I think that in the weeks leading up to it too, you were ready. You were like, I'm ready for this to be done. I'm ready for this kid to be out.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, same page. I'm ready.
Yeah. So like, I already had my bag packed. You know, I'm ready to go. The nursery's ready. We were just ready. And at the time, so the house that we have is a duplex, top and bottom. We're on the top. The bottom part, we didn't have anybody in it yet, except my parents. And they stayed in the bottom unit, helping us fix it up and get it ready to be put online. And so I go downstairs. I think I call my mom first. And I'm like, hey, my...
It's going to pick up on the mic.
When you're rubbing my feet like a cricket. I'm like, hey, I think my water broke. And so I go downstairs right before we're about to leave, and like mom's in her little PJ outfit with her eyes like all, tired, and she gives me a hug, and then dad walks out, and he's like in a t-shirt, but he's in his boxers, and he's just like, his hair is all astray and everything, and but they're just like giving me hugs, and my mom's like about to cry, and dad's just like, what's going on? Like, oh, you're going to the hospital? Cool. Okay. Like, so exciting. Like, they're very excited, but it was like 5 a.m. at this point. And so, yeah, we get to the hospital at like 6, maybe a little after 6.
Mm-hmm.
We get stuck behind a train on the way there, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
I mean, again, it doesn't matter. Like, we were
like,
getting there.
of
Playing.
course,
It's just
you're like
funny.
on your way.
Right.
Your water's breaking. You get stuck behind a train.
Uh-huh.
Classic story. And yeah, we like go up to the unit and
the room.
Yeah, but like they put you in. First, they take you to like double check that you're going into labor, and I was 4 centimeters when they checked, which sometimes. So the day before, this was a Friday morning. Thursday, I had my checkup, the cervical checkup, and I'm pretty sure that's what flipped the switch, because she came like almost 3 weeks early, like 37 weeks and 2 days. It's like, and that day I also gave a private yoga class, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but typically if you're like 1 centimeter, which I was at the time, you can be 1 centimeter dilated for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, a long time. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, that's fine. Like, I still have time. It's normal, whatever. So it was kind of a little bit shocking.
That the very next day?
The very next, not even, it was like less than 24 hours. So yeah, we get there, put you in a room, they check you, and...
Alright, I'm going to take it from here, because we're going to speed run this part. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun being at the hospital.
And that's that, guys.
It was super cool. I was reading my book. Tay's having contractions. They're getting worse. A couple times.
You guys don't want the novel?
A couple times. She's like, okay, can you stand with me? And we're just like breathing through it. And, the homie comes in, the nurse, and is like checking. She's like dilated.
But what if there's other people expecting and they want to know what it's like?
Well, you're gonna talk about that, but yours happened so fast, like that's kind of why I wanted to like illustrate how fast this went through, and so they come in and check, and it keeps getting more dilated, and then they came in and it was like 8 or 9. 8, and this is like the time before, and like you'd been dilating at like a pretty consistent time. Like,
so when I was 8 centimeters, I felt like I was gonna poop myself.
Nice.
Just saying for all
you.
you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It was natural.
Yeah,
too.
no epidural.
So if you're doing that, that's what it's gonna feel like.
Mm-hmm. And it got to this point though where you were just like, I feel
she's coming.
I feel like she's coming, and like, but it hadn't been the amount of time by which the contractions were, or by which you were getting more dilated. Like they just checked you, and it was 8.
And she's like, I'll come back in an hour.
Yeah, and it was like less than an hour later, and you were like talking to her. She's like, I'm just gonna check you just to be sure. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, 10 centimeters. And so from 6 a.m. when we got there, it's now like, what time was June born?
1:20.
So I mean, this is probably 1. This is probably like 12:50, 12:55, and they check you and you're 10.
Yeah. Well,
and so
like,
peep
body,
that window though, because that's not that much time. Go.
My body, when I was like at that 8 centimeters, my body felt like it wanted to push. Like I was not pushing. It was like my body, and that's when I was like, I think you need to check me again. Like,
Uh-huh.
and she had me sitting on, well, I chose to too, but she's like, here, sit on the Pilates ball. And that's when, like, the contraction was so big that I was like, she's gonna not be able to come out because I'm sitting down. That's what I was scared of.
Well, it's cool because they had that little like monitor where you can see the contractions and see like how close they are. Yeah, yeah. And so that was also helpful to watch, and it showed like time between them.
Yeah.
And so between that and I was also like timing the dilation checkpoints and how. So like I feel like I had a pretty good concept of what was going on while that was going down.
I'm no doctor here, but
I'm not saying I'm a doctor.
Exactly what was
no,
going on.
That's not even close to what I was saying. I'm just saying I was keeping track at the time. And it was lining up. But homegirl came in, she checked you, you're like, oh, it's showtime.
Yeah.
And so...
she's like, okay, the doctor won't be in here for 5 more minutes. And I'm like, tell her to run.
Yeah. Well, because... So it was funny, because she said, okay, you can kind of start, like, pushing. And, and she's like, take a breath and hold it and push. And what Tay was doing was she would take a breath, and then as she was pushing, she would exhale. And she told her again, and then like, and I knew what she meant the whole time, and she like looked at me, and I was like, babe, instead of exhaling, hold your breath, and you're like, oh, because you were going like, like when you're exhaling, I was like, no.
That's how I've been doing for like all these contractions.
Yeah. I was like, no, hold your breath to create pressure, and push, and like. I mean, there was, like, movement, like, from, like, so let's just get to this point. From the time that the lady told Tay to start pushing until June came out was under 10 minutes. It was between 5 and 10 minutes. So that was the only amount of time Tay was pushing for, which is unreal.
Afterwards, she was like, yeah, I almost told you to stop because your face was getting so red. She said push. Your girl pushed.
Well, I mean, it was working, and so like the doctor's still not here, and Tay'd been pushing for like 3-4 minutes, you know, and which is about half the amount of time it took for Jude to come out. And so I'm like, am I gonna have to glove up? I was ready. I have no qualms. I was like, I'll glove up and I'll deliver this baby. Don't even worry about it. And doctor came in, and the doctor was a pro. She like whip those stirrups up, put your feet on them, open that little bag for all the other shit to fall into, and it was go time. And it was like 4 pushes later, June was out, and that was it. It was amazing. It was great to watch. I've got video of it. I've got photos of it. And yeah, from push to June coming out, less than 10 minutes. Freaking soldier. That was so dope.
Yeah. Practice yoga.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even go to a Lamaze class.
No.
We didn't even do that. Don't need it.
We said fuck that.
We just straight up never scheduled it. Too lazy.
Yeah. I really didn't think we needed it.
No, I don't think. I mean, come on.
But if you feel like you need it,
yeah, do whatever you want.
Do it.
Don't care. But
yeah.
So what was that first night like for you?
Well, my parents made us a meal when we got home, and I just
I mean at the hospital.
Oh. Honestly, it wasn't bad. Like, I knew June was okay because there was people coming in all the time, which that didn't bother me. I was on like Instagram beforehand, and everyone that I was seeing was like, it's so annoying, you can't get any sleep, there's people coming in and out of your room all the time. And I was like, thank God someone's coming in here.
Yeah, I thought it was
Look
nice.
at our child, because
make sure everything's good.
Yeah, I was just like constantly worried, and newborns breathe weird, so that was just worrying me, because I was like, why?
Yeah, they've been swimming for 9 months. They don't even know how to use their
like the noises
lungs.
she was making, because her lungs are still learning how to breathe air, and it was just, she was making like little.
So cute.
It was really cute, but that lasted for like know, like a couple weeks. And when we brought her home, she
I
was
have no
making
idea.
noises like that.
No clue.
But yeah, the first night was fine. To be honest, when we got home, I wanted to go back to the hospital so they could take care of her, or just like check her vitals all the time. And
yeah, I was trying to get out of there. I was like, all right, let's go.
yeah, like I wanted to get out because it would have been way more expensive to like stay another night, and there's no reason for us to stay. I'm feeling good, June's good, let's go. But there's just like that. Oh, I felt so safe there.
Yeah.
June was so safe there. But I felt well taken care of.
Did we
all
get
things considered.
caught behind a train on the way back?
Yeah.
Yeah. With June.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, I got back and, you know, just the whole first week was just wild. Because like you're starting to like pump, and that was tough.
I
And
just like,
and breastfeeding. Like I feel like you could do like a whole podcast about the first week
yeah.
because,
We don't need to get into all of that.
but it was just tough. Like, and you produce, and they were like, I mean, your production of colostrum was legit. Like they were like, this is awesome, this is good, you're doing a lot, even though it didn't seem like much. Their stomach's only the size of a blueberry when they come out, so they can't really take in that much anyways. And so that was cool. All the literature they give you in there is just like money. It's very good. But yeah, I remember like we had this like, you know, so colostrum is like the OG breast milk. That's like, it's full of stem cells and like stuff that helps them continue to build their immune system.
It's like yellow.
Yeah. And if she's not taking the bottle, and also what I didn't realize was that babies have this storage of brown fat that they burn through like the first day or two because they're not taking in that much food. And so I didn't realize that initially. And so when she wasn't eating, I was kind of stressed. She was eating a little bit, but literally they're like, if she's not taking it from the bottle, dab some drops on your finger and then just put it in her mouth and she'll suck it off.
Yeah.
And so that's how I fed her the first night. I'm just like dabbing this colostrum.
Of it, of just...
And then she's like sucking it off my finger and I'm just like, okay, this is what we're doing. But it worked. And like they show you like there's this cool little, not graph, but just like pictures of how big the stomach is, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it grows pretty rapidly in the first 5 days. The stomach does, and so then they start like taking in more food, and their poops start changing color. There's like a poop schedule. It's like looks like this. The
yeah, we were writing down
meconium
everything.
poop, and I mean they give you enough literature, so it's not bad. But you mean in terms of like we were keeping track of. Yeah, well, we did a really good job of doing that. Like, we had a little...
Yeah.
How much did she eat? When is she pooping? When is she peeing? Because, like, there's a certain amount of
time, how many ounces, and then, like, we have the color of the poop at the bottom of...
Yeah, we described the poop color because that changes the first week or so. Yeah. And then, you know, you have your first checkup and all that, and the pediatrician, and... You know, that kind of goes well. And, you know, June was jaundiced for a while, but what I didn't realize, and it was totally common, nothing was wrong, but jaundice clears from the toes up, and so, like, she was still jaundiced in her face and in her chest, but at the midpoint of her chest, she was not jaundiced anymore below that, and so it clears upward, and I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of learning and adjusting to pumping, and breastfeeding was tough, and
yeah, I saw
2
lactation consultants.
Yeah, and all that is totally preference. Like, we did a lot of research, and you know, this isn't to like shame either way, but like clearly, breast milk is like the superior nutrition for a baby, but it's like totally a choice, and not everyone produces the same, and you know, babies have difficulty latching and all that. There's like many reasons why you wouldn't choose, but we had done the research and Tay was able, and Tay's been a freaking soldier with that as well. I mean, we're 6 months in pretty much, and June basically exclusively breastfeeds outside of the random avocados and eggs we've been feeding her recently.
Very minimal.
Very minimal food.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say first 6 weeks, like month and a half, that was crazy. I mean, luckily I was home for the first 2 weeks,
Yeah.
so I mean that was cool.
Yeah.
And so that way you were able to like get some sleep and recover and.
Yeah, that recovery. I will say those hydrogels. They're like little stickies
Oh, like
that
on
you
your nips?
put on your nipples.
Mm-hmm.
Because mine were so blistered and just like, oh my god, made me want to cry when she would try to latch.
It was like so painful.
It was, yeah, I just, ugh. But stick those hydrogels on and they're cool. So it's like nice and cool, but also it hydrates them. And I used those for like 2 days.
Really helped heal.
And it helped heal. And then I, shout out to my friend Taylor, who gave me this gel to put on them too. So like,
oh yeah, she dropped those off. That was great.
yeah, very kind. But yeah, definitely take time to heal yourself up and try again. And if it doesn't work again, then you don't do it. But like, luckily I could. I am thankful that I can because it saves money. I don't have to buy formula all the time.
I mean, we haven't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I haven't bought it once.
But yeah, it does. I mean, I can't go anywhere without having a thought like a planned out. Like, okay, I'll feed her in the car. If we go here, if it's like I have to time everything.
Yeah,
still.
for sure. Everything still revolves around that, which is definitely tough and is a sacrifice for sure. That is much appreciated.
Yeah, but she's done good.
Oh yeah, super smiley, healthy baby.
Every night before bed, I enjoy that time because it's just quiet time in her nursery.
Yeah.
For the both of us. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess one thing to talk about, which sometimes happens with couples, which I feel like we've done a pretty good job with, but like it can be challenging because like the mom totally zeroes in on the kid, and so I guess it also depends on what are those things, like love language, like how you receive love and all that. I guess it varies person to person for the male.
Yeah.
In the relationship, but like the mom is so focused on the kid that sometimes dads can feel neglected, but I felt not that way because that's what I expected, like, and that's what I was hoping. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess just part of the traits that I saw in you initially that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode were now manifesting, and so that was showing itself, and I was like, great, she's doing all the things I thought she would. And you even were kind enough to still think about me and be like, hey, like, I just haven't been able to think as much about you and like what you need. I'm like, I just need for you to be on top of that. And I'll be good. But I mean, that's like, if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, that's how it should be. It's like, well, if you don't feel that way, like I felt how I felt, and I felt what made me feel good was the fact that Tay was being a great mom. It was okay that I wasn't getting as much attention because I didn't need as much, and nor did I want it. But like, if you're the type of person to where you're used to that and not having that is hard for you, that's neither a good nor a bad thing. That's just how it is, and you just got to communicate, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, my experience is not. It could be normal. It could be not. It really just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the experience is for you and yours, just make sure to have an open communication about what that experience is, so that way you can problem solve and adapt. Mm-hmm. That's really what it's all about, is problem solving and adapting. And if you're married and doing this, by this I mean having a kid or pregnant or something, then I mean, depending on what your vows were, odds are they had something to do with sacrifice and listening and communication, and whether you're the class, whether you're spitballing like Tay, when she made up her own vows on the fly, or you have a Catholic wedding, or you know, whatever your vows are, like, and you want to have kids, typically the promises that you made to each other will be tested when the kid comes, and that's when you really get to live up to it. So, you know, it's challenging because you technically, when you get married, you make a promise not knowing how it is you're going to fulfill it because you haven't had your greatest challenges yet. But that the ability to communicate honestly and tell the truth, and then be able to adapt and problem solve, and you know, you'll have to compromise, and you also have to be honest when a compromise is impossible, because for the most part I've been very good about compromising, I feel like, and also just being like, tell me what you need. Then a couple times, like when we were figuring out how to get you more me time, like around the 2-month mark or so, and you just like had a bad day, it might have been 2 or 3 months, I can't remember, and you were like, okay, here's how much me time I need a day, and like da 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 da, and I was just like, I don't think what you're saying is possible, and but like we still planned it out.
Yeah, but
and then
we never did it because
then the next day you were like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just like, had a bad day.
Yeah, for sure.
But like when you have a baby, you don't.
It's hard to.
Your me time, like my me time now, is when she's napping, and I'm alone, or if I'm driving to go teach yoga.
Yeah.
Or like get groceries, or like I like that time. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it's going now. But like at the beginning parts, you're like, oh my god, there's no time for me anymore.
Yeah, well,
but like that's just how you have to adapt to this new life.
Because it was a choice.
It was a choice.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, kudos to you for adapting, and also like, obviously my life changes as a dad, but this is something we've talked about a lot, is that like before in our relationship we both went to work and we both came home, and then we would hang out and do whatever, and so our roles in the relationship outside of like personality and other minor agreed upon things were virtually the exact same.
Yeah.
And while my role did shift in the sense that I became primary provider and obviously a dad, her role shifted from going to work and doing what I was doing to now being a stay-at-home mom, which is something you've never done before because you can't do it until you do it. Granted, you do still have a part-time job, which is good and you might say crucial to mental health and having purpose outside of the house, which is great. I'm so glad you do. But there's way more for you to adapt to, in addition to just, one, having a tighter hormone bond with our kid, because that's just how it works for females, but also adjusting to everything, and then you're like in the dark ages for that first couple weeks to a month or however long you were in there for, like where your body's physically recovering, your hormones are still all over the place from birth to then producing milk, and the type of milk changes, and just like so much is happening and you're so in the moment. And where I'm like still thinking mid to long term for things, and so just
that's so good because I won't be able to do that. For
sure the roles manifest as we agreed upon, but you just like, both of us had to adapt to what that meant, but I just you obviously had to adapt to a lot more, because my role, while it did change, there are a lot of things that stayed the same as well. And so kudos to adapting and being a team. Yeah, definitely.
We have an amazing daughter.
Well, you know, she smiles and poops and laughs the way a 6-month-old should, so that's good.
She sticks her tongue out at you all the time.
Yeah, I mean, super smiley, laughy baby who likes fart noises and sometimes doesn't like the bottle. Smacks it away.
Every time.
What's this? This isn't the good stuff. This isn't the source. Give me some of that source milk. It's like, sorry kid, mom's at work. I'm just gonna starve you out.
You should try to put it in your shirt, like There's a nipple.
That's funny. I literally just have we just have to wait until you get so hungry that you don't care that you're feeding from the bottle, because I can't, if I shove it in her mouth and hold it there, she'll start crying, so can't do that.
What a punk.
I know. Yeah. Well, about ready to wrap her up?
Yeah.
Hold on. Did I do my job? Do you feel like I asked enough questions and...
Yes. I
Okay.
feel like I said what I wanted to say
Okay.
because of your questions.
Wow. Well, shout out to Tay for being our first 2-time guest on Fowler and Friends.
Ooh.
I'm sure she'll be back in some capacity at some point. Maybe probably more so in a cameo, like you cameoed at the end of
I'll be a
Sam's.
filler.
Well, I don't want you to be a filler, but you might be.
I like filler episodes.
But this isn't, it's not a filler episode. The plot is moving forward in this one. There's no plot. There's no plot to this. There is none. Alright, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you listen to the other ones. I'm going to put all these on YouTube so you can watch them. You can go back and watch your favorite episodes, and it'll be great. And that's all I got for you, everybody. Peace!
Bye.